Okay, so today we're not going to be glazing All-Star Tower Defense X, but I'm going to be giving a little bit of a criticism, and it's for one thing that could potentially be the downfall of ASTDX if it happens. So watch until the very end because this is a pretty important video, and we actually have an example of a game dying specifically because of this issue. By the way, I also just want to mention that our goal is to reach 100k subscribers eventually, so subscribe right now because if you do, then you're going to be officially part of my OG subscribers before we got to 100k subs. So subscribe and let's get this video started. Alright, and the problem in specific that I'm going to be talking about in today's video, actually there's going to be two of them. One of them is going to be about trading. The second one is going to be about the update schedule. So we're going to go on to the update schedule right now actually and talk about the update schedule as well. And then we're going to go on to the bigger problem in my opinion, which is going to be trading. So the update schedule of All-Star Tower Defense X right now is not looking too bad. They just released about 2 weeks ago and also released their update one last week. So they basically released another update a week after their release. But right now, it doesn't seem like they're going to be updating right now or this week. And the player count has already dropped pretty much. Right now, they are at 150,000 players. And this is a drop because they used to average around 190 to 200,000 players. So that's like a 50,000 drops of players, or 50,000 players stop playing the game basically. But to be honest, I don't expect All-Star Tower Defense X to average 100k for much longer. I think eventually they're gonna drop to the number of ALS, which is probably averaging around 80 to 90,000, maybe 100k every time they update. I think it's still gonna stay the biggest tower defense game for a while, but its numbers right now is mainly due to hype and nostalgia. So it's gonna drop down eventually, and I don't think it's gonna be able to keep these numbers for much longer. But the reason why I want to talk about update schedule is because the old All-Star Tower Defense used to update much longer. The old All-Star Tower Defense, I believe, used to update much longer than Anime Adventures did. So that kind of is a problem because due to the amount of competition you have right now with Anime Vanguards and Anime Last Stand even, if you take about 3 weeks to update or maybe even a month to update, you're going to be at a pretty big disadvantage because we see that Anime Vanguards actually started averaging less and less players due to them not updating as frequently. I think if Anime Vanguards updated much more frequent, like I think every 2 weeks, they will get more players. And I think every game right now will suffer from this. Every tower defense game right now will suffer from this. The competition right now demands you to be updating at the very least bi-weekly, or at the very least, this is the maximum, every 3 weeks. Anything more than 3 weeks and you will start seeing player count loss. Kind of like how Anime Vanguards is seeing right now. So hopefully All-Star Tower Defense X can, maintain a bi-weekly update schedule to be able to keep their players hooked and interested. And this is especially because Update 1 did not actually release that much content. But I think this is not as big of an issue as I'm making out to be. In all honesty, I think even if they do bi-weekly or 3 weeks update, as long as it's an update with good amount of stuff in it, it's gonna be fine. But the thing that I think will really be a big problem for All-Star Tower Defense X is going to be its trading when it finally releases. And the main problem and the biggest problem here is this one right here. Trait Burner, which is the trait reroll in All-Star Tower Defense X, actually has a trading value, which means that you'll be able to trade trait burners, which is basically the equivalent of trait rerolls in All-Star Tower Defense X. I think we've seen this before. So again, the example that I'm going to be giving right now is Anime Defenders and how much players Anime Defenders had back then to how many players it has right now. So basically, Anime Defenders right now has 834 players, but during their peak, which was about a year ago, I believe, their peak was 270 players, 270,000 players, which is kind of close to the peak that All-Star Tower Defense X is experiencing, but eventually, they started dying, like really bad. They genuinely started dying, and a lot of this is obviously because of other problems, not just trading, but a big part that contributed to how bad Anime Defenders was their trading system. And mainly the reason why it's so bad was because in Anime Defenders, you could trade trait crystals, which led to people farming alts and farming black market and stuff like that, which kind of ruined the economy in Anime Defenders and made it a lot worse. I do think that in Anime Defenders, it was a little bit worse because you could also trade gems, like you could genuinely buy gems or you could use the boots in order to buy stuff with gems, and I don't think it's gonna be that bad with All-Star Tower Defense X. However, if they do not control and manage this properly, I do see this being a big problem for them in the future, because it might genuinely ruin the balance of the game and the economy of the trading. However, there's also a good side to this. I do think that if they manage to do this trading system very, very well and manage to keep it, you know, balanced and not as broken as it was in Anime Defenders, I do think that this might actually make their game even bigger, because they might get a bigger trading economy compared to other tower defense games, because, you know, the trading is much more better and much more expansive and has a lot more options to trade. But again, it's a two-sided coin, basically a double-edged sword. It could be good, but it could also be very bad. So hopefully, in order to balance this, they add some precautions that I don't really know, can't really think of much off the top of my head right now. But if you guys have any way of maybe preventing this from spiraling out of control and maybe balancing this out, you know, just comment it down below and I'll respond to you in the comment section. But I do think that this could be a big problem and a big asset if done well or if done incorrectly. That's pretty much it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Just wanted to make this video about All-Star Tower Defense X, especially since there's not going to be much content in this channel for ASTDX for a while, since AV is going to be updating, and I think I'm going to be doing AV content for a while. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.